Next thing we're going to talk about is a question we get all the time from families with puppies, and that is, how do you get them to stop biting? Well, it is part of their nature. We do have to recognize that. They are typically playing. There are some other causes. If your dog is having other causes, we can address that privately. But let's just say, for the purposes of puppies, that it's play. It's not aggressive. They do learn by playing and using their mouth to play how to control their jaw pressure. So it's super important that, in the very least with adults, we don't require them to stop altogether. Because if we don't allow them to mouth us at all, they'll never learn how to control that pressure. Keep in mind, like I said it once, this is not for kids. If you have kids in your life, we'll talk more about that in just a minute. So, should a true bite happen in the future, the purpose of this action is to teach your dog that if they feel like they have to put their mouth on an individual, that they only have to communicate very lightly to get their point across. So dogs who've never learned this often have a more significant issue, and they're more at risk of causing physical damage because they never learned that all they have to do is a little muzzle punch and they are going to be telling all that they need to tell us. So that doesn't mean that you need to suffer through puppy mouthing, but we do need to start teaching them that only so much is tolerated. So this is super important. If you are on the ground playing with your puppy, if they break your skin or make you wince, that is obviously too hard. Your job at that point is going to be, get up. Bye. Just kidding. I wouldn't leave you. But I do want you to remember that if you are sitting on the floor, you can't just tuck your arms in and look away, because then puppy will jump up and probably go for your hair or your face, or if you're lucky enough like me, your glasses. So you have to get all the way up and ignore them. Now this is where a lot of people have a 50-50 result, is if you say anything to your dog. You can say ouch, but then you have to follow up with that exercise of getting up and walking away. Whatever you do, do not yelp. The reason that I say that is because a lot of times when you yelp at a puppy, you turn into a giant squeaky toy and you just increase the mouthing behavior. So if you're going to say anything, make it ow, and then get up and walk away. What you're trying to communicate with your puppy is, when you bite like that, I don't want to play with you anymore. It's the same thing that another puppy in their litter would do. They would say ow, they would get up, they would move away and go try to get the puppy to do something else and move on to another puppy. Regardless, we know that the puppy wants to continue to interact with you and that he loves your attention, right? So after some repetition, he will start to get that hard bites equal you leaving. So after a few moments, you can re-engage and try again. Consistency is key, and you have to respond to every painful bite. If you find that your dog is doing too much biting, there's a couple things to consider here. One, they might be exhausted and they might need to take a little break, but also they might be getting too worked up. So we can discuss that more if that seems to be your puppy. Once your puppy is not biting so hard and they're starting to only bite somewhere between preferred and that super hard bite, then you're going to draw a new line. You're going to say, okay, well, everything over this line, I'm going to repeat and do the exact same action. And you're just going to kind of keep going to the point where your puppy is no longer mouthing, or when they do, it just literally feels like a tongue and some little tickles on you. So slowly raise the bar on that. What you're essentially saying as you go through this process is your mouthing has gotten better, and I just need you to be even more gentle and continue doing so. Like I said, if there are children in the house or your dog is around children in general, and if you can socialize them with children, obviously that's ideal too. But the rules are different. You, as the adults, are in charge of teaching them. With kids, no biting is allowed, period, at any pressure. So we're teaching the kids the same thing, that if the puppy mouths them, that they should say ow, and get up and walk away. They can come back and try again, but they shouldn't do anything to rile the puppy up more. And if they repeat the action, then the kids are going to repeat the same action. Otherwise, really what we're looking for is no mouthing on the kids so that they understand, oh, that's just not that's not appropriate play with those kids. So if you have kids in your home, this is a perfect time to have a little conversation with them. My most passionate subject in the world of dog training is talking about puppy socialization. We do know that there's always the question of nature versus nurture, but I like to believe that it's a combination of nature and nurture that builds the dog. We do see dogs who come in and have a great head start on life, but then around a certain line, they start to develop some issues. And even though that may be concerning for a lot of people, my favorite thing to say to those people is imagine what would be happening if we hadn't done the socialization at all. They probably would have had significantly worse issues. So regardless, socialization is going to benefit every puppy on the planet. The socialization process is not just let me play with their dogs, let me talk to people. It's places, people, all kinds of animals, all kinds of sounds, all kinds of objects, obstacles, things that they might encounter. And the more things that they do encounter, the more easily they will accept those things when they are adult dogs, or accept new things when they're adult dogs, because new things aren't scary. So what I want you guys to pat yourself on the back about right now is that you are here right now and your puppy is still in the early socialization process. They might be getting close to the end, but they are still between the ages of 2 and 4 months old. Once they reach somewhere around 4 to 6 months old, depending on their breed, and size, their ability to accept new experiences decreases by a lot and very quickly. And if they have not been socialized well by that time, we might see some other behavioral problems starting to pop up, especially reactivity towards other animals, towards strange people, towards situations. Oh, too many things to count. So socialization is ultimately going to give your puppy the best chance of being a good doggy citizen in the world and keep them with your family as long as possible. A lot of people don't recognize this, but socialization issues are one of the biggest reasons that dogs are surrendered to shelters, is because they just don't know how to handle themselves in our human world. So instead, we want a well-socialized puppy that enjoys being out in the world, likes to meet new people, other dogs, and even if the situation is that they don't love it, they can tolerate it. So the fun thing to say is that socialization is like a behavioral vaccination. It is going to keep their brain and their mental state a little bit healthier for the long run, protecting them from all sorts of undesirable adult behaviors. So the good news is, like I said, it's easy to avoid under-socialization. You just need to get your puppy out every day as much as possible and experience the world. You're here, you're listening, you're going to come into class, and we're going to do socialization exercises each week. So it's super important for your dog to continue to have those positive experiences. You are going to get your first day here a puppy passport that you can fill out, and that is going to have you go through and expose them to different things, or if you already know how they are, you can mark it on there. We're going to talk about whether a dog or puppy loves something, tolerates something, finds it okay, or if they absolutely hated it. So we need to record those, and if they only tolerated or hated something, then those are things that we need to work on with them. So we'll pass that out along with a few other things for you. So when we're talking about whether our puppy loves something, thinks something's just okay, or hates something, we need to know what those mean. So when we are talking about our puppy loving something, then what that is going to be pretty obvious typically. They're usually moving toward it, wanting to interact with it, investigating it a lot. Even if they're guided away, they are not too concerned about it. They might be playful, wiggle a lot, or get bouncy. One of our favorite things to say is the curvier the body, the happier the puppy. Now, if the puppy is just okay in a situation, this can often be misconstrued as good. And what those might look like is a puppy who seems comfortable, but might be ignoring the thing that they are trying to avoid. They might interact briefly and then run away or move away cautiously. They might go and experience something but choose not to go back toward it. And we might see that they are just completely flat out, I'm not going over there. So don't worry about that too much. It just means that we have to start creating positive associations with that and make things as happy as possible. So if a dog doesn't want to interact, we can build them up to closer to a loves it reaction. That being said, if we are talking about hates it, this is typically pretty clear as well. Dog might try to lean away, try to hide, tuck their tail, stiff their body. They will not eat or play. Worst case scenario, growls, barks, bites, or snaps. Keep in mind, we always respect those regardless. We're never mad if a puppy does one of those things. We just are learning, okay, they hate it and we need to do something about it now. So in those situations, we will try to link their experiences with positive associations of food or play, lots of praising, and happy interactions. You can also give your puppy distance from the thing that's scaring them and allow them to approach as they are comfortable.